I'm Rebecca Bradley. This is the Virtual Crime Book Club. It is Monday, the 13th of September 2021. Today we're discussing Mystic River by Dennis Lehane. Thank you for joining, everybody. As you may notice if you're watching this after the event, there are fewer members here. There was a bit of a screw up and I forgot to send the email out yesterday with the link, so I do apologise for that. People, I only sent it out this afternoon and some people might not have seen it, so we do have fewer members today. Hi Wendy.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Yes, not bad, thanks. Well done for sending it out at all on such a busy week.
You. I know, I can't believe it. Oh, it was such a klutz. If you are watching,
you.
Sorry?
I said the false hours for no one actually emailing you to say, is there not a meeting this week?
Well, no, I am surprised actually. Nobody did get in touch last night. Yeah.
We have faith. We just have total faith that you'll be there. It's fine.
If you are watching this after the event, be warned there will probably be spoilers within this video interview later. So if you haven't read the book yet, you may want to read it before you watch the rest of this video. Okay, so I'm assuming you've all read the book. Did you enjoy it?
Yes.
I'm 60 pages from the end, so darn.
Oh dear. Not quite there yet then.
Not quite, no.
So we're going to spoil it for you now.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh no. So is that an all-round yes then?
Yeah, I did enjoy it, but I mean it's quite old school, isn't it? But it sort of took me back to what I was reading many years ago, and it had that feel, that kind of historic feel about it. But I really did enjoy it. It made a change from the sort of modern ones that we've been reading.
It is. I don't know what year it was written actually.
I think it was like 2001.
Yeah, it was like 20 years ago.
Oh,
they also
I think it was a lot earlier than that.
Maybe earlier, because I think the movie was like 20 years ago or something like this.
No, you're right.
Copyright says 2001.
Yeah, you're right. 2001. I stand corrected.
Hi, Marina.
Sorry, I'm late. I was being interviewed for one of my translations, and I couldn't just leave in the middle.
No, thank you for joining. I was a bit worried that nobody was coming tonight after me forgetting to send the email out, but no, I'm glad you could join us. First question has been, has everybody enjoyed the book? And so far everybody has. Did you enjoy the book?
Yes, although I have to say I found it a bit grim. You know, I could see where it was going and my heart was breaking. And so I was like, oh God, I'm reading this and I just know it's not going to end well. So yeah, it was quite fraught.
Yeah, I think all his books are a bit like that though, because when it was chosen, I thought, oh no, I'm not going to want to read this. But yeah, I very much got into it.
It does have that sort of sense of horrible inevitability that kind of draws you through it, I think. And I think he does it so well, but it's not an easy read because it's like watching a car crash in slow motion, isn't it? But it is, I mean, for me, I started reading it thinking, oh, I won't have time to finish it. But then I kept finding another half an hour I could read another bit and staying up late so that I could finish it, because I couldn't not see what happened.
Although what's interesting is that it started out, I was wondering if it were published nowadays, because it starts out quite slowly and builds a lot of backstory and things like that, which nowadays a lot of publishers, oh, no, get to the point, get straight to the, and so, yeah, it felt, although it was only 2002 or whatever when it was published, but it felt like it was much older in the sense of, you know, he's got time to settle into his story.
Bearing in mind, you've said it was grim and this, that, and the other. It is a crime book. That's what we all love. That's what we're here for. What is it? But everybody liked it. So what is it about a grim book and this fear of what you're going to read next that everybody liked about this particular book? What is it that draws us to this?
I
I
think
actually go ahead.
I was going to say is that for me it was the characters. I thought the characters were so well drawn, and
Yeah.
you felt so involved in their lives, and he put in enough sort of social background, you know, about the gentrification, the unemployment, you know, all these kind of things that you really could sort of start understanding how they were living. And I think that sucks you in. He was very good at it, so that although, you know, it's a child thing that I just have real problems with. I tend not to read any of them that have children being molested in them. It is one of my no-nos, but I have to say that the characters and the plot as well, but the plot I felt was quite weak in places. So
For me, it was also the character development. I think the characters were very well developed, and I like the slow burning, the slow beginning. I wasn't bored or anything. I felt quite interested in the lives of these people, and I felt the characters were very well developed. So for me, it was also that I like grim books because I like Nordic noir a lot. Nordic noir is awful because everything that is bad that can happen, it happens. And I quite like grim books, but yeah, I like the character development.
Go on, sorry.
Go ahead.
Kathy.
Well, I was just going to say that I think at the beginning you kind of got the feeling that you weren't going to like the characters, and because he did develop them, you started to like them, even though they might not have been anything like you or your family, but you did like them and were rooting for them in a way. So, and it took me forever to figure out what country this book was in, because it never really said a city that I could find on the internet. And the only way I found out is because the motor vehicle thing, they said it was an RMV. And when I looked that up finally on the internet, it said Massachusetts. And it's like, oh, okay, finally. But it took me more than half the book to figure out what country it was in.
oh no, it must have said early on that there was Chicago, because I had pulled up the map. And I did have problems on the map trying to put the various streets together. So I think the area must have changed its street layout a bit. Or either that, or there's a bit of poetic license in how he's named the streets.
Well, what city is it? I never could figure that out because I looked for Buckingham and I couldn't find a Buckingham.
No, it's an area
Boston.
just to the south. Yeah.
But then it talked about Springfield being close by, and Boston isn't anywhere near Springfield.
But I think
So
these were all areas rather than what you're thinking of the place of Springfield.
Okay, so it was set in Boston then, because I never did figure out what city.
I've got it down as Boston.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got a question that is, do you think the book could have been set at anywhere other than Boston?
Well, like I said, I couldn't figure out what country even. So yes, I think it could have.
I think it could have been set in any major American city. You know, bear in mind that it did speak about how when immigrants had come into the country and they'd settled in these sort of outer city areas. You know, so I think as long as you put that to it for non-US readers anyway, I don't think the actual city would have been an issue.
I think it could be transferred to, you know, a lot of areas that have the sort of low-key industrial manual labor type industries happening around that time. So I thought it was quite, I don't want to say generic because it sounds like a criticism. I don't think it is, but it's got that kind of, you know, every place, every feel to me, that it didn't actually matter where it was set, because I recognized the kind of setup of it. And, you know, I'm not American, I don't live in that area, but it's felt very familiar. This idea that, you know, somebody's dad would have a job that was better than somebody else's dad, and there was the right side of town and the wrong side of town, and how that had come about, and historically people cleaving to their own areas and not crossing over. I mean, that just felt kind of very familiar for to me, and not specifically American. But then we had things like the baseball mitt and stuff, and that made me think, oh, I'm in America now. That was good.
Did anyone watch the movie? Because the theme this week or this month was books that had been adapted for films.
I have watched the
it
movie.
last night.
And
I watched the movie many years ago. I liked it a lot at the time.
I was living in London when the film came out, and I watched it in there, and I just thought it was very American. And the film, I think, is really excellent. I think the adaptation was really well done.
Yeah, I think it's one of these cases where the movie actually lives up to the book, because usually the books are so much better than the movies. I think in this case, the movie is quite good. I watched it many years ago, but I was quite impressed. I still remembered some of the things. I was reading the book and I was like, yeah, I remember this from the movie.
And does it stick quite close to the story? Yeah, and the ending and everything. Yeah,
I think it's pretty close. I don't remember every detail, but I think it's pretty close, because I remember some bits when I was reading the movie, the book. I was like, yeah, I remember this from the movie. Is quite strong. It's very strong. It's like the books.
I watched the movie last night on Amazon.
Ah, so you remember?
But I didn't want to watch it till I had read the book. And yes, it's very faithful to the story of the book, but as with most of these things, it does lose, because when you're watching something visually, you're not getting all the thoughts and all the rest of it that you get when you're reading the book. So to begin with, I thought it was just, you know, perfectly sort of following the book, but then as the film goes on, you're not getting all this sort of how Dave thinks of the boy did the killing, not Dave. And that really didn't come across in the film as much. I didn't think that, you know, how he had split his character. But yeah, it's a reasonably well done film from the book.
It's more difficult to do that, isn't it, in a film?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to translate such a book into a movie. I think it was. I remember that it's a Clint Eastwood movie, so it's quite good. And Sean Penn was very good at the movie, and also Kevin Bacon.
Okay. What feelings did the book bring up for you as you were reading it? Because it was a very dark book.
It was a very dark book, and I think what he did that I really liked was that we didn't get a huge amount of graphic detail. We got enough to let our imaginations work out what had happened and what had most likely happened at certain points, but you didn't get the kind of graphic detail, which I think made it more powerful, because, you know, my imagination certainly, you know, goes to all the, you know, the horrific real life stories that have come in the news over the years, and you know, things that have come out about real cases, and it just made it more powerful for me. I mean, and again, I think it is his talent that you didn't particularly always like these characters, but they were all damaged in some way, and you kind of related to that very much. And obviously, you know, the boy was created through the damage, and the guilt of the other two. I thought that was really well done, because kids do take on these sort of feelings. I mean, you know, look, with hindsight, they, you know, perhaps should have pulled him away and said, no, don't do that. So why didn't they do that? You know, and this sort of feeling that, well, they didn't really like him that much and he was a bit of an outsider and all this, but was it a deliberate thought? And it, I mean, there were so many emotions in that interplay, that even though it was quite a slow beginning, it was actually quite gripping, because you'd got all those layers of things going on, and then that was just developed all the way through. So I found it, you know, really quite deeply moving, and all credit to the writer for that, definitely. I'm going to watch the movie now.
Yeah,
because it's got to be worth it.
And what about characters? Who did you connect with?
I don't think you actually connected with them, because there's, you know, that sort of implies a sort of really knowing that kind of lifestyle. And I think not being American, it's very difficult to sort of connect in that way with them. But I thought Jimmy and Dave and their wives were really well done. I thought that Sean was probably the weakest drawing character. You know, the phone calls from his wife that said nothing, I thought, you know, it was a bit sort of cliche, you know, the damaged detective sort of thing, rather than seeming like a real part of life.
I think I would disagree with you, Lorna, I'm afraid,
Okay.
on that, because I thought he was very understated all the way through. But this idea that actually he would wait until his wife said something. I mean, he was obviously desperate to hear her voice and wanted her back and everything. And he just couldn't see through to a way of making that happen, but he couldn't give up. And I thought that was the most, you know, one of the most likable things about him, was this kind of idea that actually he was a man floundering. He didn't know how to cope with this. And I was, you know, sorry, spoiler, but I was delighted that kind of came out. It felt a little bit glib, the ending, I have to say, as it was kind of all this other stuff was going on. It's like, oh, we'll tidy up that bit as well. So that did feel a little bit glib, but I was kind of convinced and quite intrigued by that, because, you know, there were undercurrents. But I mean, I never got the impression that he, you know, beaten her up and she'd run away or anything like that. So I think damaged, you know, like a lightly damaged man compared to the others, perhaps, but still some depth of character.
Isn't it funny though how the same scenario and people can read it differently and see it differently? The very same scenario, the phone calls, and two readers will take two different things from it, and I think that's really interesting.
It's the fun of it.
Yeah, definitely. If you could ask the author anything at all about the writing of the book, or why he did anything, what would you ask him?
Maybe why this child abuse is such a strong theme, because that's the theme of Sleepers as well, isn't it? You know, why is this the theme that he wants to write about?
Maybe he likes his characters to be really damaged, and if you have an event like this, it really marks you during your entire life. It's what happens also in Sleepers, because they are all the men they are just because something happened many years ago. And yeah, I think it's a way of justifying why all these characters are so damaged and so much, I don't know, so much is going on and they are so troubled. Yeah, you know, probably just a way to justify why the characters are like this.
I think one other thing for me is it feels like a very, and I know there are female characters as well, and we do get some insight into what they're thinking as well. But for me, it does feel like a very male book because it's these three former friends and so on, and we get a lot of, and there's a lot of testosterone flying around and a lot of anger and a lot of, you know, yeah. So I wonder, maybe I'd ask him something about, and I don't know if he has he ever had a book where it's the female character is the main protagonist, the hero or something. I have the feeling it does tend to be male generally in his writing.
I can't say I've read a lot of his work, so I don't know.
Yeah, he's, because it's Shutter Island as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's also male, and Sleepers, and yeah, so yeah, I think there's something about, and is he kind of deliberately doing that to kind of explore the damage that men can do to each other, or something, or, you know, or is it just, well, that's what I am and that's what I know how to write about? So I'd be interested in exploring that further.
Yeah, interesting. Hi, Craig. Were you surprised?
Hi, yes, sorry.
No worries, glad you joined us. Were you surprised by the ending?
No.
Which part of the ending do you mean? Sort of when the denouement's made, or by the actual sort of last scene?
The denouement.
No, it was obvious from quite early on, I felt.
I think it had this sort of sense of inevitability about it as to where it was going, which was kind of part of the power of it for me. But I don't think I doubted where it was going, but it was kind of the nuances of how it would get there were intriguing.
I think,
and how the minor characters would react to what happened too.
Okay, I think we are going to be a little bit careful because Kathy hasn't quite got there yet.
I'm almost there, yes.
How far have you got to, Kathy? So
well, I've got 60 pages left.
Oh yeah, but you know, in the story.
Oh, well, at the point that I just stopped reading, I think something's going to happen to Dave, because
all right, okay.
His wife had told James, Jimmy, that she thinks he killed Katie, and then one of the brothers shows up, Val, and I thought, oh, I know what's going to happen here. I think I know what's going to happen here.
So were you satisfied with the ending? Even if you felt that it was how it was supposed to go, were you satisfied that it did?
Yeah, I think it did, because I think that the bit after that, you know, when Jimmy's wakes up in the morning of the procession and he has all these thoughts and such, like, I think that was that was a more natural ending, if you know what I mean. It sort of almost set the scene for the future.
And it felt very convincing that he would sort of come that circle.
Yes,
on his journey to the end of the book. She says, trying not to give anything away.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine. We can't always, even though the meetings are 4 weekly, we actually only give you 3 weeks to read because we've got a week choosing the book. So it can be a little bit of a rush if you've got busy lives to be getting on with as well. So yeah. Craig, everybody enjoyed the book. What did you think?
Firstly, I'm having a little bit of internet issues, so if I cut out, I apologise. I loved it. I absolutely adored this book. I could not put it down. What I liked about it a lot was how he described things, and you know, the emotion around the death of the daughter. I was just like absolutely engrossed in that, and it really made me feel really sad for him. And I've never felt that much with any other author really I've written. I absolutely, love this book. I don't want to say about the ending, but yeah, there was it sort of surprised me a bit, but then it went on a bit, and I liked it, but I thought the natural ending came slightly before that. But you know, great book, and I'll look for other books of his and read them.
Although one thing I would say is that I did find his writing on occasion. So there were moments when it was really good and really gripping and really fluent and everything. And then there were some clunky moments and some cliche sort of expressions. And I wonder, this was his first book, wasn't it? I think. So I wonder if that's it. I think later on, reading some of his later work, I think he lost that kind of more, you know, cliche and clunkiness. But yeah, I did occasionally, it did pull me a little bit out of the story. Yeah.
Well, he did very well to get his first book made into a major movie.
Yeah, I've not seen the movie, and I had a quick look it up, and I will probably watch it because it's got some serious characters and some serious actors playing the characters, so I'll probably watch it. But you know, fabulous book, I thought. With regards to, he is an American author, is that correct? Where so I thought out of some of the other American authors we've read since I've joined this group, I thought he was the best. You know, some of them I felt a bit sort of, yeah, I can read and see it being very American. But this I didn't. Although it was set there, obviously, but yeah, I absolutely adored the book. I really did.
I think it always felt to me like he got a sort of firm grip on the psychological truth of his characters, and that just made them feel so convincing. And also perhaps that's why I feel that the setting, you know, it could have been set anywhere in any small town with that kind of background. It didn't need to be America. It just had that kind of scope about it, and that's a real talent. I mean, I think he is a real talent.
So would you read another book by him?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yes.
No.
I have read Shutter Island, but a while ago, so I haven't read anything else. So yeah,
I think I read Sleepers years ago. Sorry.
I've not read Shutter Island, but I have seen the film, and it was amazing.
See the film.
The book is better than the film.
Is it?
Well, it's a lot more, you know, you can hide things a lot more in the book than in the film. So yeah, so he does that.
I was trying to think, how can you make a film of that? That must be really quite tricky. So yeah, now I'm curious about that one as well. That's 2 films I'm going to go watch.
Oh, it
takes up so much of my time, this book club.
It's a good film. The ending just blows your socks off. So yeah, I can imagine the book is good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I shall read it, I think.
Yeah. So and Lorna, you wouldn't read another one?
No, it's because this whole abuse thing really just unsettles me. And I can take as much gore in a book and other things of that, but that's one particular aspect to life I don't even want to come across in fiction.
That's fair enough, and to be honest, I worked in that area and I don't like to read it now. So I mean, that's fair enough. We all
but yes, I think he was a very good reader, and it's just for that reason that I don't want to read anymore. What I would say, because all we've spoken about is the male characters, and I thought the female characters were very well done as well. I mean, Celeste, from being this really supportive wife and doing everything, and then you see how her sort of doubts creep in and how she doesn't know how to cope with this Dave that's and the boy that's appearing. I think, and Jimmy's wife as well, I think all of these characters were really well drawn. So that although he's predominantly a man's writer, if you like, I think he can do females very well.
But if you did like his writing, Shutter Island doesn't cover that subject.
All right, okay. I'll have a look at it.
It's very creepy.
Mhm.
And I imagine the book is ridiculously creepy.
Oh yeah.
Because the film is, so I can imagine the book really is.
Mhm.
Anybody got anything else they want to say about Mystic River?
Can I ask, because I missed out on how it came about, who chose Mystic River? Whose pick was it?
It was a reader pick. Somebody emailed it in. It wasn't one that I selected.
Not somebody here tonight. I was just wondering what made them choose it, because I think it's a really, really good book club choice. And I was just curious as to how it came about. Well done, whoever it was. Well done. Because I probably wouldn't have read it.
It was definitely a reader pick. That it was emailed in. It wasn't one that I selected. So I can't remember who it was. Sorry.
Well done. If they're watching the recording, well done, whoever it was.
And also, I'd been meaning to read it for a long time, and I knew there was a film, and I've been meaning to watch that for a long time. So I'm really glad that I was given the opportunity.
Yeah. Okay.